1231 300 to 1099 Lincoln Road and their right-of-way improvements. And at this point, the city is just going to request some non-binding comments and feedback from the board relative to the changes that they made, and I'll let Bruce Lamberto kind of take you through everything. Bruce, there's a traveling mic right there that you can use.
This light, which we're going to be using for the tree uplighting, there's approximately 260 of those, has been approved for the South Beach project that's south of 5th Street. The fountain improvements consist of essentially putting water features in that just upgrade the existing fountains. But basically, it's $1 million lighting and fountain upgrade of the entire mall.
Bruce, I'm sorry, you said $1 million? Explain that, please.
That's the project cost. It's approximately, counting the consultant's fee, it's.
I was under the impression that it was $300,000 in order to repair uplighting and fountain problems, which unfortunately were not.
The phase one cost is that much. It's the $390,000.
And this is all RDA money?
Yes.
It's ridiculous. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Bruce, did you have an opportunity to read the recommendations of staff? Because there's some very important points in there. Are you in concurrence with these?
Yes.
Okay. I think it looks like a well thought out project, and I think that the nature of the lighting will certainly, as we all know, the lighting scheme really failed on Lincoln Road. That's why so much money is being spent now, unfortunately, to have to literally replace most of the lighting that went in. And the theory of hanging the lights on the trees with the cables running up the side of the tree and all just didn't work. The way the lights were placed, down in the planters themselves caused everything to be short-circuited.
The lights that were installed in the planters that caused everything to be short-circuited. What's being proposed here is the same type of lighting.
No, but there's a different system that's being used entirely. That will not be subject to the flooding and short-circuiting.
See, the problem I have with this, it seems like the city's just attempting to spend whatever money's necessary to fix the mistakes of the past. I personally believe the contractor should be responsible. I don't understand why the city's not seeking that remedy. This project isn't old. I mean, we have an infrastructure here that's 60 years old and still working, and here we have lights that are 3 years old, and many of them are broken.
Well, I'm just working beyond that aspect of it, because we just review it for appropriateness, and based upon what is being done here to correct the problems that are now extant on the road, I think a lot of thought has gone into really correcting those problems, and that we should have a much better solution, and that we'll have maintainable lighting on Lincoln Road.
The lighting that was installed attached to the trees, and the transformers for them were at the base of the tree, subsurface. That's what William's making reference to. Every time the irrigation would come on, it would flood the transformers. They would short circuit out. It was a bad design. This fixture that we're using here has the ballast actually above. It's inside the post itself.
The problem I have with those fixtures, and you can go out to Lincoln Road and see them today, are similar type of fixtures which are uplighting from the ground, especially by the movie theater. People trip over them. Many of them are broken. There's one broken on the median at Jefferson Avenue. Again, my concern is the liability of them being a tripping hazard, as well as people walk into them or ride their bicycles into them and they break.
We're going to coordinate this with our Parks Department, because there's going to be some landscaping that's actually going to go in to take into account what you're talking about. Somebody would literally have to walk through a bush maybe before they trip over the light.
I don't know if that's going to cure that defect, especially, and again, I would encourage anybody to go to the cinema and see this type of lighting. Today, I was just watching Max the Blues Player the other night. I saw two people literally trip and could have seriously been injured. This type of lighting is not appropriate in areas that have heavy pedestrian traffic. That's my feeling.
Well, I think it would be appropriate if the landscaping is done, as Bruce is indicating, that it will be done. Well, I think everything was actually just held in abeyance of kind of rethinking the road and how to meet the lighting objectives and be able to maintain the lighting.
And it's not just the lighting, it's the fountains. These things were working soon after the construction was completed, and now they're broken. How many times are we going to readdress these issues. Personally, I'm troubled by the amount of public money that's being spent on these types of projects. It would be nice if the city could get it done right the first time, but I don't have much confidence in seeing these things done over and over again. And there's great examples today, such as the Collins Avenue water main up on 17th Street, South Point. It's ridiculous what's occurred down there. The city's at the point of litigation. The 28th Street pump station, I don't have confidence in the city being able to complete these projects correctly. And my concern is the cost and the amount of money that's proposed to be spent to try to get these things correct.
Yeah, but that's so far out of our purview. But as an example of the fountains, the fountain that was restored, for example, in front of World Resources Cafe, that has somewhere like 300 individual sprinkler fountain heads that create that little arc that went to the center of that fountain. You know, I've spoken with Kevin Smith on this directly, and it's virtually impossible to keep that. And you have somebody there literally every day going around the entire fountain trying to clear all the heads that have been clogged. So there's some major, kind of operational challenges because of the environmental condition that we're in here. And I think we all know that none of these fountains have been operating properly since they were installed. And to the extent that we can actually get systems that are maintainable, that work, that have a presence, I think it'll work to benefit them all.
The fountain, well, not the fountain, it's kind of a pool at Washington Avenue in the road.
That's a problem. That pool is a problem.
That's where the roach is, the metal
Yes,
sculpture?
that's a problem founded because of the
It's
depth
a
of the water.
problem project. What's
It's-
the purpose of that whole?
That's, again, this was done by an architect several years ago in a prior project, and we've learned that it's an issue.
Well, the project design was fine. The execution of it through the whole bidding process and all turned out to be extremely unsatisfactory.
That one, where the stairs go over it, that happens to be an issue where we have people falling in.
Wait, which one? Oh, you're talking about the one at Drexel or Pennsylvania?
The one across from?
Not by Yucca.
Yucca.
Right.
You're proposing?
Oh, that's a completely different one that I was considering.
You're proposing a railing system to prevent people from?
No, actually, we're actually looking to dismantle the fountain feature in there altogether.
It's another waste of money. It's very.
It's a liability the way it is now. We're really subject to a lot of personal liability.
As I believe with those uplighting fixtures you're proposing, there's a lot of liability. And again, I would just urge my colleagues and anyone to go stand by the cinema tonight and watch people fall over those uplighted fixtures.
Are those exactly the same fixtures that you're proposing to use, Bruce?
Yes.
What is your kind of comment on that?
Well,
We'll try again and see how it works.
no. This is an industry-proven light fixture. This is a commercial-grade light fixture that will last, and it won't give us the problems that we're having.
But are you stating that the city will work with the landscaping?
Sure.
To
Yes.
ensure that these
We're gonna-
landscaping does not become totally obstructive to the passage of people?
That's correct. We're going to actually
On
do
the
some
road,
landscape
people aren't going.
improvements around the trees where these are going to be installed in the open walkway areas.
You see, the city had already done that throughout the road and has since removed the plantings, or the plantings were basically killed with people stepping on them, and the city has since replaced the plantings with rocks. It started off as what could have been a good design, but it wasn't practical for the road.
Well,
All right, any other
Well,
comments?
I'm still not clear on the pond, or whatever you want to call it, on the Washington Avenue end. What is the plan?
there's no improvements slated for
Are you
that.
gonna-
Perhaps
No, that
road
one is
should-
remaining as is at this point.
Is there any proposal for that to be removed? It's purposeless.
It was actually part of a kiosk design that was supposed to go in there, and it never got built.
Yeah, and it seems like the city abandoned even the maintenance of it. They put planters around it, the glass has been broken, the water features.
Well, we've
done away
replaced
with.
that glass several times.
Yeah.
It
Perhaps
does
it's time
suffer a
to,
lot.
if you're proposing to spend $1 million on this project, if anything, I think it's time that metal sculpture, or whatever it is removed.
Well,
It's-
with a recommendation from the board, we will certainly
I'd
approach
recommend
city
that.
administration with that.
The name of the sculpture is called La Cucaracha.
In actuality, it's called the wing.
Absolutely. Questions?
Randall, you have a question?
Yeah, a couple points. I don't see why we need to go through another phase of spending more money on additional lighting before we have to get rid of those
Well,
horrible
Randall,
lights.
maybe as a compromise, we leave the existing lighting and do away with this project entirely. I mean, earlier today, we discussed, we actually approved the new signage, which will be illuminated. That'll add additional lighting. I don't see it, I don't particularly see a need for this, especially considering the costs. And in terms of the roach or the wing, or whatever that metal sculpture is called, I believe there was a lapidus structure
Oh, yes.
nearby.
Yes, there was a lapidus structure there, and I remember people wanting to see that kept. It was a disc, it was very much in
Circular,
character.
and it was functional.
You're right, exactly, and
If anything, I'd like to see that roach removed, that
Here, here,
lapidus
here.
structure reconstructed.
I
And
make-
this, and you go away.
I make a motion that the lapidus structure, the circular lapidus structure at Lincoln and Washington be reinstated, because the request to keep that fell on deaf ears back when this plan was proposed. And I think that the roach is a beautiful thing, but it's not practical, and like you said, the previous one was in keeping with the whole lapidus scheme, and it was practical. So I think that's a great idea, and keeping the
Randall,
rest area
one
in mind.
question. The roach is a beautiful thing. I don't see any beauty in that whatsoever. If anything.
Well, I think it's the sort of thing that looked great on paper.
It
It's a-
looked
it's a-
good in the design phase, but in reality, it's purposeless. If anything, it's discomforting
Well,
having it there.
I think we can all agree that it's not practical, that it just doesn't work. It's very difficult to maintain. It's never come to fruition, whether it was because of the design, whether it was because of the way it was built, whether it was because of the way the bidding process, I don't know. But the fact is that it's not working, and it's costing a lot of money for something that doesn't work. And so bring back the lapidus structure.
Tom or William, what type of purview does this board have to instruct the city to get rid of the roach and bring back the lapidus structure? Do we have any jurisdiction or any say in the matter? Do we have to make a recommendation to the city manager, or?
Maybe you would just wish to draft a resolution to the mayor and city commission and a letter to the city manager.
Oh.
Or maybe we want to send a letter to the city manager requesting that your resolution be transmitted to the city commission relative to the removal of the
Roach.
the wing.
The wing.
No, you need to give it its correct name. It's unfortunate the way that name of cockroach came to it. It was just a quip in a meeting that
The wing.
took place like 4 years ago.
What's wrong with the roach? There's a giant spider in Rockefeller Center, and it's beautiful, so.
Well, there's a bit of a different connotation between cockroaches and giant spiders, I think. I think it is respectful that it was designed as a wing. I think it's a fabulous design. It was very poorly executed. The height is not as it was intended to be. The construction is radically different from the way it was intended to be. The contractor, the fabricator, literally didn't have the sophistication to build to the plans, and that was a part of the whole bidding process on this. However, I would never suggest that we should not, if we have the opportunity, consider reconstructing the original Morris Lapidus entranceway, but that'd be the most appropriate thing, in my opinion, to do. I mean, that's what it was, the original kiosk that was there was designed for that purpose. I would certainly want to revisit it myself personally, because I'm not familiar with the design in detail. I have a good conceptual feeling of it, but I would not be, in objection to doing that at all. I think it'd be a wonderful idea. But I do agree 100% relative to the Cobra lights, and I think that
That they should be removed?
I think the large Cobra lights should be, I think that they should be removed.
I think they should be turned off today.
Well, if
Go
they could be
flip
turned-
can't somebody
I
go
don't-
flip
Well,
a
I think-
switch and turn them off?
I think that you have to allow the new lighting to be installed so that you have that ambient level is brought back up again. Before they
Randall,
shut down, because I don't
I-
think the need for them.
I have to respectfully disagree. As ugly as those lights are, they're functional, and it just disturbs me more than anything to see the city spend more money to try to fix something that they didn't get right the first time.
But I don't think, with the level of ambient light, with the level of pedestrian activity, with all the light coming from once upon a time, when I moved here, Lincoln Road was a black hole. Not a single storefront was open, and if there wasn't any lighting coming out of it. And so it made sense to have those prison yard lights on there because there was no pedestrians and there was absolutely no light coming from the buildings. Now we have an incredible amount of pedestrian traffic. Nearly every retail establishment is open and operating and throwing light out onto the road.
Okay.
And we have the lighting that was installed as part of the Benwood renovation. And now we're going to have these illuminated directional signage. So they're an anachronism,
All right,
and
so-
I think they need to go.
So if what you're suggesting, if the lighting right now is adequate, with exception to those highway-esque lights, and this plan was done away with, I would be in agreement with.
But the lighting isn't adequate,
Mitch,
because
yeah.
most of it is out most of the time.
Mitch, this project was conceived because of all the complaints that we do receive from the merchants on Lincoln Road about inadequate lighting, especially where the areas of the trees, the canopies from the trees block a lot of the lighting. And this is an attempt to correct.
That's the key word, an attempt. And if this attempt fails,
Oh.
that's what it will have been $1 million later. It's shocking.
I have a quick question, let me jump in and say, is this supplemental to what's there, or what's there now is going to be abandoned, and this is the entire lighting package for Lincoln Road?
A little bit of both. We're replacing all the tree lighting.
All the wires,
All the wires that
everything
run up the
else,
side of
those-
the tree and with the light in the
those
tree.
jury rig frames,
All that
rings,
stuff
and
where
all
you
will be
screw it
removed.
into the tree,
So
which
we're
is,
looking at tree trunks again.
all of that is going to be removed. And we're going to go to this fixture here to light the tree.
It's impractical, that's
No,
my
I
sense.
think the board has a good point, that if you are going to go to that fixture, you really have to demonstrate, if you're going to use it in those circular beds around the trees, in the walkway, then you have to clearly have a solution so that people aren't literally falling over this. I think that we should also get, before any decisions are made relative to the wing and the recreation of the Morris Lapidus structure, I think we have to see if we can find the original drawings for those as well.
I believe Morris donated the Lincoln Road drawings to the Wilsonian.
Can you check that?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that is what has happened, that'd be excellent, because then we can get those drawings before you at the next meeting, if we can get copies of them. And then you can think it through, more thoroughly before making a resolution, drafting a resolution.
William, I need to respectfully disagree with what you stated, that it's not in this board's purview to consider the economics of this. In your staff reports, there is a condition in which we are to consider the economic viability and feasibility of projects. And this is one of those projects. It's not economically viable or feasible.
Tom, is that in the DRB criterion or in the HP?
It's in the HB criteria.
Which article?
So
Which I think
cost
it's
cost
in- it's
is
in
a
the
factor
demolition
we
criteria.
can and should consider. Gary doesn't have a
You
problem.
don't have a problem with them? Well, you're the city attorney's office, you're the guys that have been telling us all the way along before that we can't base our decisions on what the cost of the work is going to be. Pardon?
Yeah. I mean, this project as proposed is outrageous. If anything, I think all we should do today is make a recommendation to the city manager for the roach to be removed in the original Lapidus structure, reconstructed, and this just go away.
I would like to second Randall's motion that the wing be removed and replaced with the original Morris Lapidus structure.
Do you want to do that in the form of a reso or just a memo to the city
Well,
manager?
that's sort of like a combination of the two. I would like to add as a condition that a financial feasibility study be included with any new submission of this proposed uplighting and fountain work.
Because my concern is that we're going to be back here 3 years from now and say, well, this didn't work because of this and this didn't work because of that. I feel really concerned that it's only 3 years old and we're talking about replacing it.
Attempting to fix it.
Well, I guess we should probably wait till next month when the designers are here. I'd also like to hear from the Lincoln Road community. I guess they would have been here if they would have known that we were going to be discussing this.
All right, now back to the resolution regarding the wing and the original Lapidus structure. Has that been made?
It's been made and seconded, it's what
And there's
form
no
it's going to
demolition
take
in this,
that we need to
application.
decide whether it's a recommendation or a,
Well, it has to be a resolution in the form of a recommendation.
That's what he was
Okay, it's been seconded.
Mitch, I'm having trouble with that. It just seems like that's a pet peeve of you all on the board to get rid of that. I mean, what, you just don't like it? You know, tell me more about it.
I don't like it. I would much rather, it's purposeless, it's disturbing to look at, it just doesn't make
And
any.
if it's a very different thing from what was originally envisioned, what was originally envisioned? What was
Well,
it?
the city has proven it can't bring it to the condition of the original vision. And in fact, it almost looks as if the city has abandoned the project entirely. They put the planters around it, the fountains are broken, the glass is broken. If anything,
I
again,
don't know anything about the history of it. I'd like, you know, before I would vote for it to disappear, I'd like to know a little bit more about it. Maybe someone can make
I think that's a great idea. I would change the motion to request that as part of the presentation in September, included in that, be a documentation on the Lapidus information booth